Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. So I have a series on the different mental illnesses. We're going to talk about depression, also known as a major depressive disorder. And just a disclaimer, this is not meant to treat or diagnose, but to give you information to either seek help for yourself or your loved ones, kind of figure out a way to handle certain situations. But what exactly is it? Depression is a mood disorder, and it's when it's major depressive disorder, it has a persistent feeling of sadness, also a loss of interest, and some people will call it clinical depression. Throughout our lives, we will get happy, we will get depressed, but when it's persistent, um, it can leave you feeling way too down, unable to function, and give you a lot of thoughts in your heads that you know need to be addressed. It's more than just being sad, a little bout of the blues. And it's important to know that depression is not a weakness. It's something that you can't just snap out of. Sometimes it does require long-term treatment. So there is help out there, because with major depressive disorder, clinical depression, it affects how you feel, think, and behave. So if your thoughts aren't your own, you want to get back to where your thoughts um, are in a healthy state, because it can lead to a variety of emotional, also physical problems. So our mental health affects our physical health. So it can be difficult if you have depression to do your day-to-day activities. And when it's persistent, it's really going to start to affect your life. If you have minor bouts of the blues, um, you know, uh, it might affect your financial situation for that week. But when it's persistent, it can cause you to lose your house. It can cause you a lot of things that are going to cause more stress, which is going to get you deeper depressed. So, sometimes it might only occur once, but people who have multiple, there are people who typically have multiple episodes. So what are these episodes alike? They can appear to occur most of the day, almost every day, nearly every day. It's a feeling of emptiness or hopelessness, and there is help out there. You can feel teary, sad, and it can lead you to have angry outbursts, to feel irritable or frustrated, even over the smallest of things. And with help, life can be what it needs to be, where you're meant to flourish in life, and not get stuck in depression, because it can lead to a loss of interest in even the most small activities, normal activities, sexual interactions. It can change your interest in your hobbies, the things you used to love, the sports you used to love. And when you go through these depressive episodes, it can be very long lasting. It can cause sleep disturbances. When you start going through that, it's going to bring you down even more. Insomnia, where you can't fall asleep, can you have to get sleep. We need to have sleep. It can start causing hallucinations if you're not sleeping enough. It can increase our weight, or it can reduce our appetite. So you'll either have sometimes profound weight loss or weight gain, and that can cause a change in your self-image, which can lead to more depression. So it's really important to kind of try to get a handle on it. It's not something to just snap out of. There are ways to deal with it, to get back on track in your life. And we have to deal with that too with the CPTSD. It's something that's affecting our physical and emotional health. So with major depressive disorder, you can become restless. You're not getting the sleep you need. You might feel agitated, high anxiety. Our brains will start to slow. We'll have like slowed thinking because of the depression. Problem speaking sometimes. It might come out slower where we're just really down. Our body movements are lethargic. You know, often you'll struggle with feelings of guilt, uh, fixating on past failures, self-blame. If you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, we kind of have that sometimes. We're depressed over the situation and we turn it into feelings of we failed. Um, we internalize things and we have to let things go. We have to get back to our peacefulness. But we have trouble thinking when we're in these depressive modes. We have a hard time concentrating, making decisions, remembering things. There can be frequent or recurring thoughts of death. Sometimes it gets bad to where there are suicidal thoughts or even attempts, and hopefully not, but sometimes there is suicide attempts that come to fruition, and they're not just attempts. There can also be unexplained physical problems. Your body's going to ache. You might get headaches or back pain, joint pain, all because we're sad. Um, there's something going on. And it's not just adults that get it, children and teens can get it as well. So it can get severe enough that it can cause noticeable problems in day-to-day activities, whether it's at school, the social activities, or the relationships we have. And some people just generally feel miserable or unhappy, and sometimes they don't even know why. Like, why am I this sad? Why don't I want to do anything? Why am I not hungry, or why am I eating so much? It's goes to the mental health. But in younger children, I'm a teacher and I can see differences in the children. Um, some you can see there's more stuff going on than just a frustrated child, because there's a lot of challenges in their lives. So in younger children, they can have sadness, irritability, they can be clingy, holding on, not wanting to be alone. They worry, there's a lot of aches and pains. They refuse to go to school. Sometimes they can present as being underweight. In teens, they have the sadness and irritability. And it just seems to get worse where there's feelings of negativity. Also, they feel worthless. There's a lot of anger building up. And it's like that snowball effect where they struggle, and so they miss certain parts of their education, because maybe their mind's wandering or they're too sad or skipping school. And as a teacher, we are taught now to teach at grade level. So if you fall behind, you're still going to be taught at grade level. You miss something, there are interventionists uh, who do try to help the kids, but that's only a small portion of the day, maybe a few minutes, um, or a half hour, but uh, they just keep getting further and further behind. And so now they're having poor performance, which is going to affect them. It affects their whole life if they don't catch up. Poor attendance at school. Some of it might be because they don't feel good because they're sad, so they want to skip school. Um, and just stay home and sleep. It might seem like they're really sick. They could get diarrhea, upset stomach. Teenagers can feel misunderstood. They become extremely sensitive. They might delve into recreational drugs or alcohol, and their eating patterns are going to change. They can either eat or sleep too much. Um, uh, Self-harm is on the rise, loss of interest in normal teenage activities. And they also start to avoid different social situations. So they're missing out on the social interaction that they need to flourish in life, missing out on networking opportunities. And that leads to isolation. And isolation is not a healthy aspect. We need people, we need to feel loved. But in older adults, depression shouldn't be considered a normal part of growing older. So it's really important not to take it lightly if our parents or our elders, our grandparents are going through these depressive symptoms. Um, Depression, unfortunately, in older adults is often overlooked. It's not treated, it's not diagnosed, um, because sometimes they just feel this is just part of getting older, or you overlook it like they're just lethargic, they're older, but they might have lost a spouse. There's a lot of things, they have memory difficulties, personality changes when they're starting to get depressed. And I know my grandfather lived to 98 and a half years old, and near the end, he was starting to get really frustrated with his memory loss, and he was getting depressed because of that, because extremely intelligent, even at 98 and a half years old, he was so interesting. um just fascinating mind, and he felt it going, so he was getting depressed about it. How do you deal with it? Physical aches or pains that they're dealing with. They can get depressed that they're not getting around. They might self isolate because they don't feel that they can get out there and do the things they used to do. A lot of times they can become where they're fatigued, start to have a loss of appetite, sleep problems. They're, either incapable or uninterested in sex. So they will present themselves as often wanting to stay home. Um, they don't try new things. It's almost like they're giving up. So because of this, sometimes they'll have suicidal thinking or feelings. And this seems to be more prevalent in older men than older women. That I'm not exactly sure why it's the older men. Maybe it's because of erectile dysfunction. Women, we can just be there. Um, for the most part, you got lubricants, things like that. But men, maybe that's something that has something to do with the suicidal thoughts that they feel they're unable to perform. Also in society, women usually outlive the male. I know my grandmother died before my grandfather did. And she was what, 3 or 4 years younger than him, but she lived to, what was she, 97? Something like that. One thing that was nice is he lived several years, 3, 4 years after grandma died. Um, Usually within the first 6 months, they were married since they were like 17 and 20 or something like that. But the first 6 months can be devastating, to where a lot of times couples like that, one spouse will die within 6 months. It's that broken heart syndrome. So really pay attention to people, if they lose a spouse or somebody important, a child, um, because it happens quite often where within 6 months one of them will pass away. If they can make it past that, they're usually stronger. If you or somebody is struggling with depression, there mental health professionals that can help. If people are reluctant to go speak with a mental health professional, it's good to get support from family, loved ones. There's NAMI, NAMI, where you can anonymously talk to somebody. It's free. And NAMI.com, possibly your church, talk to a pastor or a priest. But if you feel or somebody who is considering hurting themselves or trying to attempt suicide, you can call 911. They have a suicide hotline, 988, or you can call 1-800-273-TALK, which is 1-800-273-8255. And what's nice is if you use that same number and press 1, you can reach the Veterans Crisis Hotline. because the veterans, I have a friend who's a veteran, and some of the things that they've been through, are definitely, you know, PTSD and depression, not being understood, or related to. Like we can say, yeah, I know it was hard. I'm sure we don't know exactly how hard it was for some of them. It's good to stay close to someone, maybe spend time at, you know, with your son or your daughter or a sister or brother. There are spiritual leaders, somebody of faith who's in your community if you're religious, and um, it's nothing to mess around with, because sometimes we do get caught up in our emotions. And you know, with people who do self-harm, sometimes you are reacting to a stress, um, to have like a distraction, but sometimes it goes too far when you didn't realize it, or you mix it with alcohol or drugs and you didn't realize, you cut too deep, or you took too many pills, or injected too much. Also, be real careful. You know, sometimes you think you're getting a certain type of drug and it could be laced with something that could be deadly. This fentanyl that we're going through, people cutting things, mixing it so it's cheaper, it can have devastating effects. So, uh, major depressive disorder, please like and subscribe if you guys have any other mental illnesses you'd like me to cover. I'm going to try to do a series where I cover them all. There's over 200, and it's good for us to know exactly what we're dealing with, because there are different types of ways of dealing with the different mental issues that we might have. Some tactics are more effective based on what we're going through. So I hope you like that. And one-on-ones are available, and I'll see you in the next video.